Kevin. All right, time for today's Upside. A recent college graduate from Wilton is heading to Argentina this January to climb the highest mountain in the Americas. While he overcomes obstacles on that physical journey, he's raising awareness for his journey with obsessive compulsive disorder, or OCD. Vincent Sablich is here with us this morning to tell us more. Thanks so much for coming.
Of course, thank you.
You have been walking, rucking, hiking for causes for years now. Tell me about the inspiration behind this upcoming climb.
Yeah, the story actually goes back to Disney World. And if you're familiar with the ride Expedition Everest in Disney's Animal Kingdom, I went on that when I was about 8 years old. And when I entered that line, I was transfixed by pictures of Mount Everest, the Sherpas, Himalayan deities, and just everything about that ride and what they presented was so inspiring. So when I went home from vacation, I said I want to be the youngest kid to climb Mount Everest, and I started running laps around my backyard with a weighted backpack and started climbing trees with my dog's leash and my dog's harness that we'd used to walk him. And my parents got really concerned, so they ended up signing me up for summer camp at Rock Sport Climbing Facility in Queensbury. And from there, it just took off, and I got really into rock climbing. And it wasn't until COVID and dealing with a lot more increased mental health symptoms, specifically with OCD, which is something I've struggled with throughout my entire life, that I found the mountains again. And then when I was in college, I was able to study abroad in Nepal, and then ended up spending a total of 1 year there, and was able to go to the base camp of Mount Everest and to meet the Sherpas and climb with them. So sort of a lot of different factors came together, but coming home, I was like, I want to go achieve that childhood dream, but do it for a good cause. So the project to climb the 7 summits for OCD awareness really just manifested over all those years.
Tell me about this one in particular in January. What do you know about this mountain?
Yeah, it's going to be the highest one I've ever done. It is the highest in the Americas, and what's good about it is it's really difficult and dangerous, and people still unfortunately die on it because of the extreme altitude. However, it's not as technically demanding of a mountain, and there's not a ton of objective dangers, so not as much with avalanches that you have to worry about. And since I have done 2 20,000 plus foot mountains in the Himalayas, I feel that the training I've done has prepared me well for this. So it's certainly going to be a big feat, and it is the second highest out of all the 7 summits, just next to Everest. So I want to start off with a bang with this project, to go for something a little bit more difficult, and then maybe tag the easy ones later on in the process. But yeah. So
I want to also highlight the reason behind your choice in the cause that you're climbing for. What do you think people might not know about OCD that you would like to get the word out about?
Absolutely. Well, for one, it is actually the 4th most common mental health disorder out there, and it affects 2 to 3% of the population. But what is not so great is, even though it's so popular, the amount of time it takes from people to experience symptoms to actually get a diagnosis and treatment is about 13 years average. So there's a long time in between when people experience these symptoms and then actually get the treatment and help that they need. And a lot of this is because I think OCD is stereotyped as something where people just need to wash their hands or have things organized, but in reality, it's much more than just being a neat freak. There's a lot of different subtypes of OCD, and oftentimes a lot of people's compulsions and the suffering that they face is all done mentally as opposed to physically. So there's a lot of people, I believe, that are suffering in silence, like I had for so long. And I think that by doing such a big challenge like that and bringing my passion of climbing into it, I think that there's a lot of room to help people and show this message. And I will mention that this week is actually OCD Awareness Week.
Okay.
So I didn't plan my event during this time. It just kind of happened. So yeah.
Well, speaking of that event, let's pull up that flyer before we go to commercial break so that you can see it. There's a QR code that you can scan. That event is happening at Common Roots Beer Hall. I believe tickets have already been sold. That's all wrapped up, but you should definitely follow Vincent along on his journey, and we'll check back in with you after that climb in January. Sound good?
Amazing. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming in. Hey, if you have an idea for the upside, let us know. Email us at news@news10.com. We'll be right back.